All right, y'all. We're going to paint a couple of little gingerbreads today. These are easy to paint. I've already given them one base coat, and most of you know that I use ceramic coat paint. That's just what I prefer. I took 2/3 of raw sienna, and it's approximate about 1/3 of white. To get the mixture, the color that I wanted for the base coat. Now, I spilled a little bit of water on her a while ago, so I'm going to go back over her a second time. I'll actually go over both of them a second time, but I wanted to start with her since she had some darker spots. They're actually probably just... I don't know why sometimes my paint does that. It's new paint, so it's not that, but it'll have little, I call it paint boogers. I know that's not very appropriate, but that's just what I call it. So I'm just taking like a 1-inch angle brush. I usually use an angle brush. For some reason, I just feel like I have a lot more control with an angle brush, generally speaking. And I'm just going back over this front again. Just lightly, just to give it a second coat. I'm going to do the same with him. And we'll go back over this real quick. These are fairly easy to paint. They make cute little Christmas gifts if you were looking for something you could do, or we will sell them finished, but we'll also sell them unfinished. Okay, just a quick little second coat there. I'm going to let that dry for a minute. And while I'm letting that dry, I'm going to start painting this other stuff. I have a couple of sets that I have painted with the typical reds and greens. This particular set, though, I'm going to paint with some of my favorite color mixes, which is the Tom Pete Red. I love that color. And I think I'm going to go with... Nope. I'm going to go with the Caribbean Blue. I love the retro reds and teals, and I always have. So, I'm going to use that on her bow. Love my expensive paint palette here. What I do is, after Christmas each year, I buy a bunch of Christmas plates, and I use them throughout the year for paint palettes or whatever I need. Now, I've taken some of this Caribbean Blue, and I've got it's a 1/2-inch angle brush. I've got more brushes that I'm going to go get because my brushes have just about run the gamut. Oh, I'm not on the... And I'm just taking a fairly light coat all the way around. It's going to take 2 coats. I do tend to paint my sides. Not always, but generally speaking, with laser cut stuff, the sides often will smell burned when you first get them. And that's because the laser is actually burning through the wood. But if you put a coat of paint on them, the smell goes right away. And your sides will never be as light as the top. I think that kind of adds to the character. Okay, so I'm going to paint that bow the light blue, and I'm going to paint his. This is for his bow tie. I'm going to paint it the light blue. Again, this is Caribbean blue. It's just a fun color to me. And I'm going to kind of go around the edges. Now, one thing I've found really handy for painting these smaller pieces is I have a pair of 5-inch hemostats that I really like to grab onto stuff with. And because you can get those smaller pieces, you'll see here in a minute when I paint these stars what I'm talking about. Because some of these, you know, they get kind of small, some pieces. And these stars are smaller. They are definitely on the small side of what I typically cut out. Okay, there's his bow tie. Now we'll go back and touch all that up in a minute. And here's one of the stars I was telling you about just a minute ago. I bet, well, it'll sit on my pinky nail. It's just, they're just not very big. But you'll see what we're going to do with them. I'm going to do 2 of these blue. And I'm not going to worry about painting the sides of these as much because they are so tiny. And it's just, honestly, a pain in the butt. And this won't hurt. So I'm going to do 2 of these blue. Let's see if I can get that off there. Okay. So we've got the 2 blue. And now I'm going to do a little bit of stuff in red. And then I'm going to go back and do my second coat. I need to move bear with me just a second, y'all. I'm going to move my paint palette over here. I'm left-handed, and I've got it on my right side, so I really didn't think that through very, very good. Okay, so now I'm going to take this Tom Pete red, and there are going to be a few things that are going to be the red. Both their noses will be red, so we're going to start with this nose. Like I said, using my hemostats, I just find it easier for me. A lot of people, I've seen people take tape and wrap it around in a circle and lay it down on the table and actually lay their piece on top of it. So we got one nose. Whoops. A second nose. Okay. Now we're going to do a heart. And we are going to do this last little baby star right here. All right. Now I'm going to wipe this off the best I can because I don't want that red getting back on that blue. And then I'm going to pick this up by the other side. See how this side still has a little bit not painted. I'm going to pick it up by the other side. Rinse off my brush. And I'm going to go back with a second coat of the blue. Like I said, on this, I am doing the sides. You just want to get coverage. And go over the whole thing again. And we're going to let it sit and see how that turns out. All right, same thing with this other little bow. I'm going to pick it up by the other side that I did not paint on. This one's kind of tricky. And I'm going to paint that side all the way around here. The sides do not have to be perfect. Nothing's perfect. And you'll see that it's going to look just as cute. Some people don't even paint the sides. That's preference. I just prefer to, except on something this tiny. All right, now that little star, I didn't get that 1 point. Very good, so we're gonna go back over it. All right. So we got all the blue with a second coat. Let me scoot this over just a little so you can see better. And then we're gonna do the same thing with the red. Second coat here. Now on the red, for some reason, I just don't paint the sides as much. I don't know if it's because it's a darker color. I just tend to like the way that looks, and that's just me. Again, that's preference. You can paint the sides of all of it if you want to, or paint the sides of none of it. Let's see, get this little star again. See if I can wiggle that thing loose. All right. Now, excuse me, we're going to go back to these guys again. I want to make sure they've dried pretty good, which, oh, they have. I always, for some reason, when you paint birch, to me, once you get a little paint on there, I guess the moisture makes, I call them little bristles, rise up. And that's where that white spot was a while ago. Let me get a little paint there and get that fixed. Okay, now, I know that seems strange, but I just dabbed it on my finger. And that's going to be too dark. So, we are going to come back here in a minute and fix that. But I go over the pieces just, this is like maybe 200, 250 grit. It's pretty, it's not strong at all. But I just go over them to get those, I call them burrs, off. Okay. Now then, oh, my red got over. My nose got over. Everything's going crazy. Okay, as I said a while ago, we're going to come back and kind of fix this. Not that it's broken, but again, I'm going to use, if I can find it here, since I moved it all, I want the burnt sienna and the white. Okay, I mean raw sienna, not burnt. I want raw sienna. Raw sienna and white. About 2/3 raw sienna, and that was my paint. That was not me. And about 1/3 white. Again, it is an approximation. I'll show you. That's kind of what I'm going to mix up. And then I'm just going to take my brush here, mix it up, and I'll be able to tell by looking at the color that's underneath if I'm close or if it's too dark. You just want to get a color that you think is a good gingerbread color, and that is still too dark because it's already darker than what's dried. And when paint dries, it gets darker. So I need a little more white. So I'm going to add about that much more. So maybe it's half and half. There we go. That's more the color I want. Let's see how that looks once I get it all mixed up. Yep, that's about it. See how it's a little bit lighter than what's back at the top that's dry? That's perfect. Because once it dries, it'll be about that color. And you don't have to mix colors. I'm sure you know that, but I just wanted a specific color for the gingerbreads. So we're going to go ahead and put another coat on, since that one was so dark, in the corner. And this is going to work out good anyway, because I'm actually going to take some of the raw sienna just as it is, not with any white in it, and I'm going to do a little shading. Not a ton, just a little. You can't even really tell once it's done. And you don't have to do this part. I just prefer it. It's just me. Ooh, that got kind of light right there, but that's okay. Now, while these are still damp, whoops. While these are still damp, I'm going to take some of this raw sienna. See, I've put it on the corner here of this nasty looking brush. The brush is actually a good brush. It's a decent brush. It's just got tons of paint on it. And I'm kind of just going around the edge here. And you'll see why in a minute. You don't have to be perfect with it. It does not need to be just right. Because I'm wiping my brush off now. And I'm going to take some of that lighter that I mixed. And I'm going to go back. And I'm going to go over it. And it's going to pull out. You'll have a little bit of shading. You don't want a ton. And you don't want a line. Like this line right here, you do not want. So go over it until your line starts to disappear. And you'll still have your shadow or shading, but you just won't have a strict line. And all that does is really, it just gives him a little, or her, a little 3D kind of appearance. Like I said, it's not going to be a huge deal at the end. It's not something that you have to do, but it is something that you can do. I'm going to do the same thing with him. I'm going to load the side of my brush with the darker, with the raw sienna just by itself, and I'm going to go around the edge here. I'm going to do the same thing all the way around the edge. Now, is this truly how stuff is shaded? No. But for this kind of stuff, this works. And no two will be exactly alike. I mean, you're not going to get them exactly the same. I'm coming back with the lighter color now. And I'm just going to kind of mix it around. Until you don't have any real harsh lines. You don't want and what it amounts to is just a little bit of darkness you'll show through here and there for your shadows. And like I said, is it necessary? No, it's just something I've always done. And I'm trying to show you how I like to do it. So there we go. You just kind of have just a hair of darkness. Nothing dramatic. Now, those need to dry a minute. So I am going to give you some options. Since this is a lighter blue, typically I would come through here and I would paint, what am I trying to think of? White dots on it. But since this is a lighter blue, I think I'm going to do black polka dots for this. I like to use these Posca pens. You can get a pen type, and you can get, let me show you the other kind. Well, it's more like a felt tip No, not that one. Here's what I'm looking for right here. Sorry. All right. When you order them, see how that tip is like a regular marker? You can also get some, I learned, that are pen tip. They both will say fine on them. Like this one is a fine marker, but it is not a pen tip. And for this really small stuff, you're going to want a pen tip. I like these pens because if you wait, now I'm going to use the big one to go around the outside, but if you wait 24 hours to seal it and you use a spray sealer, this pen will not run. If you brush your sealer on, the pen will run. I don't know of many that won't. Sometimes a Sharpie will not if you brush it on, if you let it wait a few days. Most, though, will run. And here we go. I'm getting something in my throat here. It is that time of year for me, I tell you. Now, I'm using the bigger one to go along the outside. And the reason being is the outside edge for me, I feel like with this bigger pen, I have a little bit better control. I actually will let part of it be off of the piece and part of it on the piece, if that makes sense. But I'm going to take this now, and I'm going to use this pen type. And they spell it P-I-N, pen type. I don't know if you can see that clear enough. Oh, my hands are pretty today, aren't they? I've been painting all day, but I'm going to use, I'm going to do black dots on this one. Just for something different. Well, I said I'm going to. Let me get it working. Oh, and the way you get them working is you hold them down until they start putting out ink. I hope this one isn't out, because I have another one, but it's not out here. It doesn't sound like it, but it is certainly not wanting to. There we go. I don't know if you can see how much finer that is, but it is just a much finer mark. Just for going along the edges, I find it to be more difficult because it wants to slip off, and it's so small that it's hard to control around the edges. So I use the next size up, which is not the pen tip. The pen tips actually only come in certain colors. I found mine on Amazon. I'm sure some art stores probably supply them, but here in Arkansas we don't have a ton. We have Michael's and Hobby Lobby, and that's about it. So, okay. We're going to do that for her bow. Now his bow's going to be just a bit different. It looks like it should go this way. Again, I almost forgot. I'm going to switch to the little bit bigger marker. It's a PC3M is the size. That's the only way I know how to tell it to you, because I can't read anything on there except for Posca, P-O-S-C-A. They are not inexpensive pens, but they are good pens. And they do last. Mine, I've had over a year. I got a set for Christmas. I want to say it's been 2 years ago now. But they're still going strong. The main thing about them is you want to store them on their side. Do not store them standing up, is what I was told. And every pen I've ever had, I've stood up. I didn't know. That was all news to me. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing with the little heart here. We're going to just go around the edges. Ooh, that's harder to hold. I need my hemostats. I'm telling you, I use these things, well, a lot, but I'm probably not going to use them for that. All right. And see, my line gets a little bigger, a little smaller. It's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. Most people try so hard to make it just perfect. Now, normally, honestly, I would probably wait to go around the edge of these, and I will for the stars, until they're glued on there, because then they're held still. But I wanted this to be a little, well, why don't I'm just determined to put something on her. I put another black spot on her tummy. Let's see if I can get, oh yeah, I got a little bit of paint here. We're just gonna blend that in because, and yes, I use my fingers to paint. That's why they always look like this. We're gonna start with him since she just got wet again. All right, here in this case, I usually use Loctite Super Glue Gel. I will use Gorilla Glue in the glue sticks. I don't mind those. I just happen to be out of those. So I'm going to take his little bow. I'm going to glue it right there. We're going to leave that kind of like that. And then I'm going to take his little heart and I'm going to put it down here. And we'll go back and touch everything up before it's over. Now, with his eyes, I have really been struggling lately with getting good circles. And I am going to order some, oh, what do you call those things? Dotting tools. Just so I can get the circles that I want. I'm using the smallest pen in this case. We'll let it dry. Now, I have found a lot of times if you turn stuff upside down, you tend to look at the shape more than the what you're trying to draw. We'll let that dry and get those eyes even. But, well, I'm trying to put the glue on the Posca pen. All right, we're going to let that dry a little bit. And we're going to start with the icing. Maybe. I had the color right here. Okay. I need some buttercream. I don't use perfect white. You can. It's fine. You can even use, you can get these pens in white, these Posca pens, if you want to use that, if you find that easier. I have painted yard art so long that I actually prefer to use paint. And I'm going to use, let me find the brush I want. It is a number 2 detail brush. There's not a lot of bristles on it. That is my preference for painting. And I'm going to start right here where somebody's taking a bite out of him. And I'm just going to do wiggles, as I call it. Up, down, up. You're just going to go up and down till you get to the other side. You can do a bunch. You can do a few. None of mine ever turn out the exact same because they're free-handed. Free-handed, is that a word? Anyway, they're done by freehand. So I go back and I do my little touch-ups, and I'm going to make it a little wider. And then for the arms, I'm going to start about right here, and there's a reason, and I'll show you in a minute. And you're going to do just a little wiggle. Little wiggle squiggle. And then you're going to go down here to his legs. Wiggle squiggle across. Like I said, does not have to be perfect. You just want to try to make sure it's filled in. Wiggle squiggle here. My art teacher would be screaming at me about now because I've got paint all the way up that ferrule of the brush. All right, now here we're going to do just a little jiggle. Little baby jiggle. All right, we're going to let that dry. Now with her, I do recommend that before you do your wiggle jiggle, you put your bow on there. I'm only going to put glue on the bottom part because it will stick rather well. And when I laser cut pieces, I always cut the top piece a hair bigger than the bottom. That is on purpose, so it is not hard for you to get your bow. And I still misplaced it where you want it, but I can go back and fix that. Okay, but I recommend you put your bow on first because you don't know where to put your wiggle squiggle. So we're going to do the same thing with her that we did with him. We're going to take our brush and just squiggle up and down. That's it, up and down. The main thing you want to make sure of is it's pretty well filled in. If you want a thicker line, of course you can go thicker, or if you prefer a thin line, it's totally up to you. We're going to do the same thing here, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. And for her legs, we're going to go all the way across just because. Just because. Oh heavens, you don't want that. Singing, that is, not me. Okay. So, we've kind of got her. Now they're kind of starting to take, you know, a little bit of shape. We're going to give her some eyeballs. Again, I'm going to use the smaller pin on this. And I'm just making a couple little circles, but I cannot wait till I get those dotting tools in. They will definitely make my life easier. And I just found them on Amazon. They're like $10, I think, is what they were. They weren't very expensive for a bunch of them. So they've probably been out for years. I'm usually painting bigger stuff. Now I'm going to put her nose on there a little sideways, just because. And I'm going to do the same with his. Putting just a little bit of glue. And there again, I'm going to put his on sideways. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take this, if these are dry. Actually, I'm not going to do that next because I don't think those are dry. Pardon me. So what we're going to do next, since the noses are now pretty well secure, I'm going to go around the rest of them, the bottom half, and in her case, the top half. Just a little line. And then I'm going to go around this whole edge. And as you can see there, I made a mistake. I got a little thicker than what I wanted, but I corrected it. It's easy enough to do with these pins. You can do it with a brush also. We're going to go around this whole outer edge. And then we're going to take a little line from up here down to his leg. Go around. Just keep on going. Keep on trucking around. Stop right there. Same thing here. We're going to take this line and we're going to pass by the icing and go up to his bow tie. And then we're going to go here around the outside edge. Just keep on going. I just think it makes them stand out a little bit when you outline them. Okay. And we got him outlined. And now we're going to head to her. And go around here. Just around the edge here. Same thing, come down the side. Now she does not have a bow tie here. So she's still going to get an arm though. It's just going to come like that. Same as it did with the bow tie. Just it won't connect to anything up there, which is okay. It's fine. I didn't mean to get up in that icing, but that's okay. We all make mistakes. Now, it's really good when you do something like that if you hold it down. That's why I was holding her nose. I wasn't trying to hurt her. Okay. So, there again. We're going to go up to the edge of her bow. Bring it back down. Now, for the icing, however, it is smaller. And I do want to outline it, but very faintly. So, if I can get this pen to work again. This pen has got something on the end of it is the problem. I am going to go along the outside edge of her icing. Top and bottom. Just following it with the pen. Do you have to? No. This is where you make stuff your own. I'm just giving you ideas for what you could do. It's just for me how I do it. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just personal preference. And when I'm doing this outline, and I'm not gonna lie, it's very hard to talk, so at least for me. Okay. We got that. Oh, she needs a mouth. Now, to make her mouth, we're going to do a half mouth. That's what I call it. We're going to start over here under her right eye. We're going to come up just a little bit. Well, I said we are. Oh, ink pen, you have to stop this. I might have to get a new one. We're going to come up like that, and then we're going to make a dip down and stop it right there. I call it a half mouth. Same thing with him. We're going to outline him. Just follow your edges. Doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to outline it. For me, I just think it stands out, makes it stand out better. That is just me. We're almost done with these guys, though. At least we're getting there. Same thing for his mouth. We're going to go kind of under his eye, his right eye. We're going to make a little line like that. And then we're going to come down. It's almost like making a half U. Some people put a heart on the end of it. Some people leave it just like that. It's totally up to you. I'm going to leave mine. I'm going to go back and touch up his eyes just a little bit more. And the edge of his heart needs to be straightened. Okay, we're going to glue her buttons on. Just a little dab. Oh, yeah, okay. 2 blue and 1 red. So, just a little dab on each one. These are T90, so you don't want much. I'm going to go blue, red, and blue. Maybe. These are so small, I'm surprised I'm not gluing my fingers to them. Okay. A little dab of super glue will definitely do you. Alright, so we got blue, red, and blue. I need to do just a hair of touch-up where this line is right here, because I did not get all the way to the end there. And then I'm going to take my white Posca pen. You can use a pen, you can use a paintbrush, whatever you want to use. But I'm going to give her just a little bit of highlight. It's almost like a comma and a dot beside it. Kind of. It's not really a comma. A backwards comma, I guess. All you have to do is follow around the edge. Alright. So you've basically got your boy and girl here. I will take a pen and go around this edge. That's just me. But for now, I'm going to show you how to... Oh, not with that brush. I've ordered that one too. My dry brushes are so old, they're... What do you call that? It's coming out. Hairs. Sorry, I couldn't think. All right. And they don't call these dry brush anymore that I know of. They call them stencil brushes. I call them dry brushes. It's just what I call them. I'm going to use some of that Tom Pete Red that I used earlier. I'm going to put some on this small dry brush that I have. They're a stiffer brush. And then, I don't know if you can tell what I'm doing. I'm just moving in a circle. And I'm going to get most of the paint off. See how it's getting down to little bits of paint? That's what you want. You can always build it up. But when you go to putting red on this brown, if you have too much, you're not going to like it. Just keep rubbing it in a circle until you get the look you're wanting. I'm going to do that. Dip it again. Be sure to rub most of the paint off. I know it kind of seems dumb. It just works. I don't know. It's just how I was always taught. And it seems to work. Rub it in a circle. Now a regular brush does not work for this. You do need a, they call them stencil brushes now. So we got his, we're going to get hers. And the more you do, as you see, the lighter it gets. So if you don't want it as dark as I did his, then you just keep rubbing on your paper until you get even less paint. Till you see almost nothing, really. Okay, we're going to go with this. We got one cheek. Got another cheek. I'm just going in a circle. Circle. Keep going in a circle. You don't want any really stand out lines, I guess you'd say. No stark lines for this. You just kind of want to go in a circle. All right. Well, we pretty much have them finished. Let's see, is this side any better? Not really. Well, I'm going to leave them on the black. This black table shows everything, but I'm going to put them on the black table. So, you've got these two. And then here's some that I did earlier. Same ones, just utilizing your more traditional Christmas colors. And there you go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. If you have any questions, holler at me. I'll be glad to show you how to paint these. I'll be listing these gingerbread ornaments tomorrow or the next day on my Etsy. And I'll post a link in the comments when I do. Thank you, guys.